Hi, how are you doing? Today, I'm coming to you with my top of TBR list. I like doing this every year. I'm terrible at following it every year, so I apologize if this is not gonna be followed by the end of the year. But basically, I made a list of 20 books that I'm super hyped for and hopefully will be reading in 2023. I know typically for these lists it's kind of like a 23 and 23 type of thing, but I just like naturally like wrote down all the books that are at the top of my TBR right now, and I landed on 20, and I didn't want to force myself to put in some books that I might not be as excited for. Like I said, I make this list every year. Last year's list, I focused on putting on a lot of books on there that I wanted to read, but like also very intimidating for me to read. So I put them on the list as a means to push myself. That caused for the fact that I barely read any books on that list. I counted the other day and I read 9 out of the 20 books on that list. So that wasn't a job well done. This year I kind of focused on generally books I'm at the moment super excited to read. Hopefully that excitement will carry through the year. And yeah, hopefully that will be going well. So these books are in no particular order. Let's start with the first one on my list, 10 Things I Love About You by Julia Quinn. This is the first book, if at least if I wrote it down correctly, I believe this is the first book in the I don't remember series. It's the first book in a trilogy. I own the entire trilogy. I bought this after like finishing Bridgerton and being obsessed with it book series. So I wanted to read more Julia Quinn. I since have read more Julia Quinn. I've read the Wilkesby series, which is related to the Bridgerton series in a way. So I'm very excited to check out the series. Also getting on a series of my physical TBR. And it's historical romance, and that's all I know about it. Talking about series, the next book on this list is The Golden Lily by Rochelle Mead. This is the second book in the Bloodline series. Last year, I put Bloodlines on the list with the intention of reading the entire series. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Bloodline, so I didn't continue. Even though I own the entire series except the last book. And I know that I will like the series if I continue because I am obsessed with the Vampire Academy series. I love it so much. And the one of the main characters in the series is like my favorite character of that main series. So I should be continuing. I just haven't yet. So I put The Golden Lily on the list to at least force myself to continue. Now next we have Amari and the Nine Butters by B.B. Elston. This one I am very excited to read. I am super excited to read this book. I want to read more middle grade, but I also like, almost never get to it because typically like I think I only own like 3 middle grade novels, and I like having them on hand if I want something lighter to read, but because I only have 3 I don't want to read them too much in case I went out. So I haven't read Amari and the Nine Brothers, even though I've only heard amazing things about it, and I desperately want to read it. And like recently the sequel came out, and I constantly see it at the bookstore when I go, and I want to pick it up, just to fall in line with the hype. And I'm not doing that because I am not at the first book, and I want to read the first book first to know for sure that I like it. And next, I don't know if the next one is middle grade or YA. The Daughter of the Deep Sea by Rick Riordan. He writes both, so I'm not entirely sure if this is YA or middle grade. If it is middle grade, I have 4 middle grades on my TBR. But I also really want to get to this in 2022. So last year I kind of like not rediscovered my love for Rick Riordan, is not the right way to say, but I finally started reading the Trials of Apollo series, and I'm really loving it. I do need to finish that this year as well though, but I don't own any of these books, so they're not on the list as it's only my physical TBR. But because of that, I have kind of been inspired to read the entirety of Rick Riordan's backlist because I've been meaning to do that for years and I haven't done that. So then like actually the King Chronicles and the Magnus Chase trilogy also on my TBR for this year, but again I do not own those books, so I am not officially putting them on my list. Daughter of the Deep Sea I do own. I bought it when it came out, and I'm very excited to read it ever since, and I haven't yet, so I need to get to that. Another book I've been very excited to read since it was released and I haven't read yet is The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. I swear to God, I look at this book like at least 3 times a month and thinking I'm gonna read you next, and then I don't end up doing it. Language of Thorns is a collection of short stories, like fairy tales from the Grisha world. So these are like fairy tales the characters in the Grisha world grew up with. Basically, I really love those kinds of books. It's kind of like companions to the world, and I really want to read it because it also has like so many beautiful illustrations in it. And yeah. And then next is Fixer Up by Tessa Bailey. This one I bought, I think, in 2021 when it was first translated into Dutch, because I had heard so many things about it. I was kind of hesitant to read it still because I have heard that it could be like a bit intense on like the smut part, But since then, I have read more Tessa Bailey. I've read the Balance and Sisters duology, and I've read one of our 2023 releases already, Secretly Yours. I got it at 29 Gallery and I read it, and I loved all three of those books. So now I really want to get to Fix Her Up because I own it. Yeah, I've heard great things about it as a romance. Next, we have The Lucky List by Rachel Lippincott. This is one I picked up because of TikTok. And then I read She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott and her wife. I forgot her name. It's Alison Dietrich. No, not Dietrich. That's someone else. Alison Derrick. I believe that's what her name is. But they wrote She Gets the Girl and released it last year, and that's a really fun sapphic rom-com, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite books of the year. I think I have not officially made my list yet. You'll have seen it, but I haven't made it yet. But I really love that book, and then I had this on my TBR still, and I immediately after finishing the book I was like, I need to read The Lucky List ASAP, and I haven't. So that's on the list. Then we have my one classic for the list, and that's Emma by Jane Austen. I read Pride and Prejudice last year again because it's one on my list, and I really enjoyed it. And then Emma is another story that I've seen a lot of adaptations from that I really like, and I have some Emma adaptations on my radar that I really want to watch, so I kind of want to read that book. I also heard that most people actually prefer it to Pride and Prejudice recently, so I'm hyped. This is like the only kind of like push on the list that I put in there to like push me to read it. Then next I have A Violent Ends by Chloe Gone. This one I wanted to read before the end of the year so badly, but then the last couple of months just got away from me a little bit and I didn't get around to it. It's the second book in These Violent Lights duology, and I really enjoyed that first book. I read that in the beginning of the year, and I need to finish this duology. That's all to say about it. We also have Felix Ever After by Kirsten Calendar. Again, this is a book that's been on my radar for a really long time. I only got it last year, and I've been very excited to read it, just haven't gotten around to it yet, and I just desperately needed to. Especially because I've heard, like, again, so many great things about this book. Then next I have A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer Armentrout. Again, this is a book I wanted to read before the end of the year, and then the end of the year got away from me. And this is the second book in the From Blood and Ash series. I own book 2, book 3, and then book 1 in the like prequel series. So I'm 2 books behind on this world currently. So much published in Dutch, that's everything. So I really need to get to A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire ASAP. And next we have The Kicking Up to Hyena by Hetty Horstmortel. This is a non-fiction book about genetics, which is a topic I find extremely interesting. And I got this book last year as a present, and I just been meaning to get to it. Haven't gotten around to it. Then next I have If It Just Gets Out by Sophie Gonzalez and Kill Dietrich. I have been hyped for this ever since it was announced. I have it, and I've been super excited to read it because it sounds like a fan fiction, and who doesn't love fan fiction? And I love Sophie Gonzalez, and I enjoyed the book that I read by Kill Dietrich. So this is genuinely the one from the list that I genuinely can believe I haven't read it yet, because it's been so high up on the list ever since it got announced, even like not even since it was released, or like since I bought it or something. Like it was since it was announced, which is quite a while ago. And next we have I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. This is the last of Alice Oseman's novels that I need to read. And then I also kind of want to reread Loveless and Radio Silence again, because I enjoyed the book, and I want to do a video on Alice Oseman, and I feel like I want to reread those 2 books before making my video, you know. And again, this is one that kind of sounds like a fan fiction, which also makes me excited to read it. Excuse me looking like a mess, but I'm popping in from editing to say that I forgot to talk about Twisted Love by Anna Wan. This book I've been excited to read for a while because it has been so hyped on TikTok and booktube as well. So it's been on my radar for a really long time, and I finally bought it and I was really excited to read it, and I get around to it. And then I bought Anna Wong's latest release, which is Skin of Wrath, and I did read that immediately. I absolutely loved it, and now I desperately want to read Twisted Love. So that's also on the list. I don't know how I forgot about it. And then like the last of the list is just like recent purchases, so books I got recently. I'm very excited because, you know, I got them recently. I also haven't gotten around to them because I got them recently and didn't really have a time to. So technically these might be a little bit of sheets, but I'm still putting them on there. This will be in Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This is just one that sounds right up my alley, and I've heard a lot of good things about it over the years, and I've heard a lot of good things about Emma Lord in general, and I've been very excited to check out her books. So I want to start with this one because first of all, it is the one I own, but also because it is the one that I think I'm gonna like the most, just based off of general premises. Then we have Nothing More to Tell by Karen McManus, which is her 2022 release, and I haven't yet read yet. Shame. I know Karen McManus is one of my favorite YA authors. She writes YA mystery thrillers, and I really enjoy her books a lot, and I haven't gotten around to this one yet, which is a shame because I did have the time. Then next you have Love in the Brain by Ellie Hazelwood, which again is one I'm really excited for. I really love To Love Hypothesis, and I also really like the feminist novellas. I read that as well, so I really want to read this, especially because most people I've seen actually love this more than The Love Hypothesis, even though like they're very similar. Ellie Hazelwood writes very similar books, but most people seem to love this one more, so I'm super excited to give it a read. And then next we have Babel by Art Kwan. This is again one that's maybe a little bit of a push read, where I am very excited to read this, but I'm also very intimidated to read this. And I also know everyone who's read this has absolutely raved about it. Most people absolutely adore this book and think it's their favorite book of the year, and like make them sob, which, you know, doesn't motivate me to know a book is mentally gonna destroy me, but I am extremely excited to read it. And then lastly we have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I read It Ends With Us a couple of months ago and I really liked it, so I'm very excited for the sequel. It's not necessary, I have to say that. I've seen a lot of people criticize it that it's not necessary. Like, I know It Ends With Us did not need a sequel, but this one is gonna focus on like my favorite character in the book, so like I'm not complaining. That is my entire list. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of these books, if you've read them, so I know which ones to prioritize. By the time this video goes up, I might have read some of them already. Honestly, my plan is to have read some of these already before that, because I think this video, if I remember my schedule correctly, is going up towards the end of January, and there are some books on the list that I really want to get to in January. We'll see. We'll get around to this. I'm hoping that when I make this video next year, I'll be able to tell you that I checked off all 20. If you want to keep up to date on like kind of this list, because I have this list as kind of like a to-do list on my phone. There you go. I'll be checking these off as I go, and at the end of each month I'll be posting a screenshot of this list on my Instagram stories, on my bookstagram, which is always in the description, so you can go check that out. And I also just like post regular reading updates, life updates on there, which you probably would have known if you were there during the hiatus. But yeah, that's where you'll stay updated throughout the year on the list. And yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. It's like the first proper video I have filmed since the break. Like the actual first video I filmed was kind of like the high and back video. This one is like the first proper one, and I was a little bit nervous about it, but I think it went well. I hope it went well. Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated?